going, everybody, and welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage, coming back here on a Sunday night here in the great state of Wisconsin, or hopefully wherever you're tuning in tonight, it's a great night for you too out there. I got Aaron with me tonight here, co-host on the show. Aaron there from Brutally Honest Sports. Aaron, how we doing tonight? It's a Sunday. It's a great Sunday.
It is a good sun, and it continues. The weather continues to be. I mean, I guess I kind of start the show every week like that, but I mean, the weather was awesome today again out here in Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania there. So, yeah, great weekend of sports, great Wisconsin weekend of sports. I'll tell you that right now. But yeah, going good so far. So far, so good.
It was a great weekend of Wisconsin sports, and Philly. They got the win. Eagles got the win for you. That was good there. Penn State on another bye, so didn't get to watch Penn State there. But lots to get into with college football today. Lots to get into Badgers, Packers, everything in between. But, Aaron, this one sucks the most. The Yankees are in the World Series. How the heck does that happen? The Yankees make it back to the World Series. It's because the Astros are out, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you talk about taking the air out of my sails already, but bringing up the Bronx Bombers, as they call them. But, I mean, I guess I hate giving credit where credit's due when it's a team I cannot stand or can't get behind. But, I mean, Cleveland just didn't have the gas. I mean, they tried. I mean, you could tell they gave it everything they had. But, coming away with only one game in that series, that's a rough one for the Guardians. And that place is electric. Like, when Cleveland's in the playoffs, that place just goes bonkers. But, yeah, I mean, they hit, I think they hit like 10 home runs in 5 games or whatever. Like they're mashing the ball. So we'll see. I mean, it's looking like LA is going to probably finally put the Mets to rest. I mean, we'll see. But yeah, hopefully the Yankees don't take it this year. I mean, they very well could, but I definitely don't want to see it.
MLB is getting what they want. Dodgers, Yankees, World Series, like that is exactly what they want in there. I mean, it's going to be a star-studded World Series if that's what it ends up being, if the Mets do not find a way through. The Brewers, their record, their history of every team that beats the Brewers in the playoffs goes to the World Series will now, if the Mets lose, be done. So that's good. That's good for Brewer fans. Like, we finally got that monkey off the back. Now we just got to make it to a World Series. Like, that'd be okay. That'd be good with me, but it's okay either way. I mean, God, those Guardians, watching Class A close down games there, or attempt to close down games there, I saw a lot of people on social media talking about Class A, and they're like, this guy, he's one of the best closers of all time. Like, watch out for this guy. Like, they're comparing him to Mo. They're comparing him to Trevor Hoffman. And watching him in this series, I mean, he's a good pitcher. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a good pitcher, but you cannot put him in the same category as those guys. I mean, come on. Watching him, I mean, you watch that game or watch some of those games in there. He's walking guys. They're leaving pitches up in the zone. Even to Soto there. I think that was, what the heck was that reliever there? Oh, he's got the beard. I can't remember his name off the top of my head now there for the Guardians. He had a couple of Gaddis. Gaddis was the one who gave up the home run to Soto there. Why are you pitching Soto up in the zone? Why are you pitching Soto up in the zone? And it just seemed like that was the series for him. It was home run or bust for the Yankees. And they delivered. They delivered when it counted the most. So, Aaron, what do you think? Do the Dodgers, do they take care of the Mets here? I believe last time we looked, it was 6-1. Dodgers in front there. Do they pull it off, end up in the World Series against the Yankees?
Well, as soon as we say 6-1, now it's 6-3. I just double check. So, I mean, this Mets team, to their credit, like that is, you talk about a scrappy team. That's probably the scrappiest of teams that has been, the last 4 teams that we saw. I think that's the scrappiest. Like, they just do not go away, and I have to at least respect that. So, I mean, probably the Dodgers finally, put them away. Like, we've seen crazier things, and the Mets, the fact they've gotten to the NLCS, I think pretty much blows everybody's mind at this point. But I mean, Manaea, not great, to say the least tonight. I mean, 2 innings, 5 earned runs, 6 hits, 2 walks. And then Phil Maton comes on, gives up an earned run as well there. So I guess the wheels are starting to fall off. I mean, you're like I said, I mean, I thought they would win the last game they played. This one, I kind of figured, okay, by now the Dodgers do find a way to put them away. I mean, if somehow, some way they win this and they go Game 7 in in New York there. That would be madness. I would love to see that. But I think I've kind of had this conversation with a bunch of people by now. I think the Dodgers pose the biggest threat to the Yankees. So in the battle of like literally the lesser of evils, I will take the Dodgers to like hopefully win. So if that like for my own sake, which I might be selfish, I think if the Dodgers can just get away through this series and close it out, and they beat the Yankees, I can at least stomach it. Not well, but I can stomach it. If the Mets were to like be the Cinderella, get to Game 7, win that, but then get like obliterated by the Yankees for whatever reason, that would be a lot worse for me. So with that being said, just somebody beat the Yankees. Just somebody. Like I don't care who it is, whichever team beat them.
It's the hope, right? It is definitely the hope at the end of the day. But we'll see here. We'll see. Maybe the Mets pull it off. They ride that hot wave. You just had to figure that hot wave was going to end after a while, and it seems like the Dodgers have kind of cooled them off here in this series. So we'll see how this wraps or finishes up. I mean, we're going to be talking for a little bit here, so who knows? It might finish up before we're done here for the night. We'll wait and see on that one. So with that, I want to get moving on here. I want to get into one of the things we wanted to mention here, and that was the show here, Wisconsin Sports on the Go. We're going to be partnering with a great partner, a non-for-profit group here in the state of Wisconsin. Warm Kids Wisconsin is the organization's name. So that's the organization. They're a non-for-profit group right here in Wisconsin that works every day to provide new coats, snow pants, boots, everything that a kid could need in the state of Wisconsin to stay healthy, have some fun in the winter, everything like that. They'll go out, they'll collect donations of either clothing, apparel, which could be anything on their Amazon wish list. They have a wish list out there on their Facebook page, everything like that. Make sure you find them there on Facebook. You can go on the wish list. You can order things directly to them, snow pants, boots, whatever it is, or you can donate directly to their PayPal account, and that allows them to buy some of these things for the kids in Wisconsin. Right now, they're located around the Chippewa Valley, but they're looking to spread out as much as they possibly can. So just if you have a chance, getting closer to winter here, you're in the state of Wisconsin, you want to help out some kids around, make sure you're checking them out there. We have the link on our Facebook page. It's on the Facebook page, Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. You can find it there. I just posted it not too long ago. You can click the link, donate from there. Otherwise, get in touch with us. Easiest way, get in touch with us. If you're on Twitter tonight or if you're on Twitch, wherever it is, you want to donate, you don't have access to Facebook, just get a hold of us here on the show. We can definitely reach out to them and find ways, get you a PayPal link or whatever it is. We can help you donate to some kids in Wisconsin that definitely need help this winter season. So, Aaron, with that, let's get to the Badgers. Let's talk a little Badger football because, man, oh, man, we didn't love what we saw. We didn't love it, but it was a good, ugly, what do you call it? A good, ugly win, right? You didn't play great. You didn't play A-plus football by any means, but you won, right? Sometimes, and I guess this is where you kind of, it's like a cliche, right? You want to win, you want to look good when you win, right? But when you win and you look bad, sometimes that tells you a lot more about a football team, right? That's what we saw here from the Badgers. They get a 20-plus point win, but they looked like crap while they were doing it. I mean, the first half there, you threw a pick, you had a blocked field goal, everything that seemed like it could go wrong in Evanston was going wrong, right? The monkey on our back in Evanston, where we just can't find a way to do anything. And it seems like we can't move the football. And the defense held their own. So don't get me wrong, the defense played fantastic in this game. But offensively, couldn't get the ball moving right away. Braden Locke still makes some poor decisions, right? And he likes to throw into traffic. Sometimes, honestly, I don't know where he's throwing, right? I was texting with a good buddy of mine. He was watching the Badgers. I was watching the Badgers. And Locke made a throw, threw a pick, right? And he texted me and he goes, "Where was Locke throwing that?" I said, "I don't think Locke knew where he was throwing that. He just threw it." So Locke still has his growing pains, right? And you're going to get that with young quarterbacks. He hasn't been a starter for that long, right? He started last season for 3 or 4 games. This season, he gets put back in there when Tyler Van Dyke gets hurt. So 2 seasons in a row, he comes in when quarterbacks have basically season-ending injuries that he comes into play. So, I mean, he hasn't had that full time yet. So we got to give it time, right? Hopefully the decision-making comes along with it, but it's definitely something he's got to clean up, right? You got Penn State next. You have Iowa, who doesn't have a great offense, but they have a great defense. So you got to be watching for that there. And then you got Oregon. So you got to clean that up in the quarterback spot there. But Aaron, I mean, all the way around, the defense for Wisconsin. I look at this defense and I'm like, holy crap, you held Northwestern to 2 for 14 on third downs. 2 for 14. Now, you were 4 for 12 yourself, so not great by any means. But 2 for 14 on third downs there. You got to love that out of a Badger team. Any stats in this one that kind of stood out to you?
Well, kind of like, catching bits and pieces of this and then, watching a full recap of this game. I have to not give Northwestern credit. I mean, they got, Wisconsin outplayed them in all facets, but that Jack Lausch guy, like in open field, he can just like fly for a quarterback, right? Like he's
Oh, yeah.
just
Yep.
like, he's elusive. I'll say that. So like that to me, almost like plays into what exactly how you said it is Wisconsin keeping him in check on the ground. Like, he's like we previewed over a couple days ago. They like to run the RPO. I mean, Lausch kind of excels in that aspect just because of his wheels. Like that guy can absolutely scoot down the field, and like they really kept him in check. So I mean, 10 carries for 55 yards. Yeah, you look at that as like, 5.5 yard average, but they didn't hurt you. Like they only scored 3 points. So just the stat of like the scoreboard in general, the scoreboard that Northwestern, posted there. I mean, and on the flip side, like Locke, didn't have his best game at all by any means. I think I've come along on the wave of I think he's better than Van Dyke. I'm just not a that guy doesn't impress me at all. Like I don't think he's just like sour milk to me. Like it just doesn't do it. I think the upside at time, like the decision making has to get better. But I still think Braden Locke is I would rather have him in there. I'll put it to you that way. And then Tyree Walker, another great game. I mean, 23 carries, $126. That's another 5.5 yard average there. So I mean, yeah, we previewed this game saying, you got to bring your own energy, like which you saw. I mean, Northwestern had their moments. It's not like they were completely, inept in this game, but they didn't score many points. So when you don't score many points, it's you don't have a shot really. And then just like total yards, I mean, Wisconsin pretty balanced. Only you look at it, only 160 yards passing, but just 1 yard shy of 200 yards rushing. So and then one more thing there, time of possession, Wisconsin, beats Northwestern out 5 minutes in the time of possession game, and then they only have 2 penalties in this game. So the thing is, it's just you're gonna have ugly games, and yes, there's a lot you can definitely clean up. I'm even in unless I guess you're Alabama and like Nick Saban's era or Georgia, sometimes there's like nothing you can do better. But like Penn State wins games all the time, and I'm like, dude, they could have done like 5 things better. Easily, I can think. So you get a road win in Big Ten conference play, like you said so great on the other day. It's what you hit on is this is not an atmosphere where you're going into it like you got to bring your own motivation, and you can't like after the slow start they had, they kind of at least buckled down, played good enough to win, get out of there with a win, and don't have to worry about it. Like you're on to Penn State, you're on to the next week. And it wasn't like it was. I mean, you could make a case early on. It was like, it's a little nerve wracking, but Northwestern really couldn't. They couldn't find points. They just there was no points to be found there.
No, 100% agree. And you know what? You mentioned the run game there for Wisconsin. This is a run defense in Northwestern. Their rush defense only gave up 87 yards per game on the ground. Wisconsin went for 199. That tells you how good the offensive line is playing for the Badgers because, Northwestern, they're not a household team right now. They're not a great defense, but they have some good linebackers. They have very good linebackers. The D line's pretty good. The front seven isn't bad for Northwestern there. And Wisconsin found a way with this offensive line. Tyree Walker, like you said, goes for 126 again. This guy just continues to be a workhorse. This guy's making himself into a draft prospect at this point because the numbers he's putting up, he's proving to be a very good back for you in the receiving game and also in the run game for you. So you love what you're seeing out of Tyree Walker. You love what you're seeing out of the offensive line for the Badgers. Now what needs to come along is Braden Locke's decision making. That's all that needs to come along. He has the ability to make the big time throw. He has the ability, right? He missed a couple guys, but you're going to miss a couple guys here and there. You had CJ Williams open, or he didn't have him open, but he let him into the end zone a little bit too long, couldn't make the catch. You're going to have throws like that. You're hoping that those throws will be made here. Locke settles in a little bit, and things just start to flow there. So you like what you're seeing out of the Badgers offense right now. On the defensive side for the Badgers, I mean, putting pressure I love the pressure that they made on Lausch in this game. They made him uncomfortable. And that's something that the Badgers struggled with early on in the season, was making quarterbacks uncomfortable, getting that pass rush in there. And in this one, they did everything and then some. 4 tackles for a loss in this game here. They had 2 sacks on the game. The defensive line for the Badgers continues to, I don't always look for the sack stats. I don't always look for everything like that. I look for, inside the game, are they disrupting the play? Are they making a guy make a decision to try and bounce it outside? Now our cornerbacks come in and clean it up. Does our defensive line do those little things for us? And like you said, they did a good job on, they had their times where Lausch was able to get out and make a big play. But outside of that, they did a good job containing him in the pocket there, keeping him in. Elijah Hills and this defensive line, I love what I see out of Elijah Hills. I know I talk about him every single week, it seems like. But this guy in this game, 5 tackles on the game, 3 solo tackles. He finds a way to disrupt plays, and that's something that you got to love out of defensive tackle there, is that he finds ways through the line not to make the tackle, but to force a guy to make a decision, bounce it to a different guy, and then all of a sudden Neal comes in, he cleans it up, or Poos comes in and he cleans it up. That's the things that you look for out of the Badgers. So I love what I saw there. They had some forced fumbles in this game. I think Northwestern had 1 fumble in this game, and it was forced by Poos there, and they were able to get the ball back. It was a great flip of the field there for the Badgers. You got to love that kind of stuff. The red zone defense was great for the Badgers in this one. Northwestern found their way down the field at times in this game, but the Badgers did well getting off the field there. And they were also on the flip side of that 2 for 3 on their own rights in the red zone with 2 touchdowns. So when you get to the red zone and you're able to convert 2 out of 3, yes, you would love it to be 3 out of 3. Everybody would, but 2 touchdowns and 3 trips to the red zone, I'll take that. I'll take that any day. As long as you're getting me touchdowns in other ways too, that's okay with me. Now, Northwestern, they had some questionable decisions. They had a 4th and 2 earlier on in this game, and they decided to, it was close to midfield, they decided to bring out the field goal kicker. And I didn't understand that one because this is the backup field goal kicker. He comes in, he kicks it 10 yards short of putting it through. I don't understand. Northwestern had some questionable play calls in this one where it seemed like they were trying to win a field goal game in this one, and that's not what it was really. It seemed like that's the way the game was trending, but not in the way that Northwestern wanted it to. So Northwestern, a little questionable in this one, but Braden Locke showed me something in this game. We talked about his decision making there, and there was a run. It was a run pass option early on in this game, right? It was a little bit of an option play, and Braden Locke pulled it right. I didn't think Braden Locke knew how to run a football, so just keep that in mind on this one. Braden Locke pulls it, runs it in for a touchdown there from like good. I think it was. He only had a couple of rushes on the day. His long was 11. I believe it was in that play that he ran it in, and it was either from 7 or something yards out there, but pulls the ball out, takes it into for the end zone for himself there. Not something that I expected out of Braden Locke, but that was a quick decision on an option play. Pull it, read it, take it, touchdown. That's something that you love to see out of a young quarterback, is his decision making to think fast like that and make the right read. So that's something to build off of if you're the Badgers. Something I like there. Hunter Wohler also on the defense. I know you think about Hunter Wohler, he's one of the stars on this defense on the back end of it there in the safety spot. But Hunter Wohler in the run game, in the pass game, it doesn't matter what it is. Hunter Wohler is that guy for the Badgers on the defense. He cleans up the run game for you. He's that last line of defense for you. You know, your safety position. He's that last line of defense, but he cleans house. So you got to love what you're seeing out of Hunter Wohler. I don't like that he's the punt returner right now. Don't like that at all. We got to find somebody else to put back there. I know Pauling has had his issues back there, and Henry is hurt right now. But maybe find somebody else to fill in for that right now, because the special teams is still a problem in that facet for Wisconsin. But all the way around, I love the game, because what I mentioned earlier, this was a game where the Badgers found themselves in a dogfight. This wasn't like the Rutgers game. This wasn't like the Purdue game. The offense wasn't clicking early. They weren't able to do what they wanted to do. And the Badgers won an ugly one, right? They won an ugly one. And that tells me a lot about the Badgers, is that they set themselves up for a solid victory, getting the monkey off your back there in Evanston, right? We've had problems down in Northwestern. This was going to be one of those games. They got it off the back. They won the trenches. The offensive line won the trenches. The defensive line won the trenches. It was something that Luke Fickell talked about coming off of last season's game there, was that they owned us. They owned us in the trenches on both sides of the ball. In this one, they did. The Wisconsin Badgers played well enough in the trenches to get the job done here, so I love that. The one thing that I kind of didn't like out of the Badgers in this one, they set themselves up with a lot of third and longs, and that can run into trouble, right? They had at one point in this game, I know I took the stat down, it was like 6.8 yards. They were setting themselves up with about third and 7, almost, you would say, on each one, right? You don't want to set yourself up with a third and 7 consistently. That is issues just waiting to happen, right? You got to get yourself in a short yardage situation. Does that come from play calling? What does it come from? I don't know, but you got to find ways to get, especially against, because you're going to have Penn State, right? They got a solid defense. So you're going to have to find a way to set yourselves up with 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, right? You give yourselves more options in the playbook besides a 3rd and 7 where it's like 99% sure we have to pass the ball here. Unless if you're going to call up some draw play, right? The draw play absolutely irritates me at times, right? Absolutely irritates me because it's like 3rd and 10 and the team will like send every receiver deep and your whole secondary bails out and your linebackers bail out and all of a sudden here comes a running back through a hole and he's got a good 13-yard gain. Like, it irritates me, but when it works for my team, it's great there. So you got to love that. One last stat for the Badgers here. The Badgers have won 3 straight and outscored opponents 114-16 in that stretch. I don't care who you play, when you play them, everything like that. When you're scoring 114 points and you're only allowing 16 points over a three-game stretch, I don't care who you're playing. That's great football. I mean, we watched Illinois and Purdue ran, and I mean, what was the final score of that one? They put up a good 30 points against Illinois' defense, and Illinois just went and beat up on, what's their name? Was it Michigan there? They have a solid defense. So, I mean, that tells you a lot about this Wisconsin team in this last 3-game stretches. They are turning – you want to say like flipping the script on what we thought we knew about the Badgers. They're kind of flipping a script on us right now, and they're saying, okay, you didn't know Jack Dilly squad. It's almost like that Alabama-USC game was like, it was a gut punch, it was a kick to the nards, and then it was like, okay, now we need to regroup. Now we know where we're at, right? We don't even know. We said that a couple weeks ago. We're like, where are they? They beat some bad teams by a little. They lost to some good teams. They should have beat USC. So we're like, where is this Badger team, right? Where are they in the realm of things? That was a pretty good Rutgers team that they completely beat the crap out of on the road. That was a decent enough Northwestern team that you held to 3 points at their place, right? So, I mean, I love what I'm seeing out of the Badgers right now. The secondary's been playing well. The offensive line's been playing well. They're putting pressure on quarterbacks now. I don't know, Aaron. I mean, this is setting up for an interesting game against Penn State. I'm not going to say a win for the Badgers because it's going to take a Braden Locke perfect game. It's going to take some good things to happen for Wisconsin for them to pull off an upset against Penn State. But it's making that game against Penn State look less daunting. I don't know if it's going to be that way. I don't know if Penn State's going to roll into Camp Randall and just knock the doors in of Wisconsin and then roll right back out, right? I don't know what's going to happen, but this makes this game look that much better, right? This makes this game look that much better, and it makes it a game that I can't wait to watch.
Yeah, I mean, checking out, it's called Penn Live Patriot News. It's, big coverage of Penn State here in the state of Pennsylvania. On kickoff 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 for you guys, but Penn State a 7.5 point favorite. So that's not that's not crazy, That's really not that huge of a gap. We're not talking like a 20-point spread. Like, I think when Alabama came to Camp Randall, it was like 20 plus or something. It was something. So, I mean, yeah, it's Big Ten play. Anything can happen for sure. Wisconsin's running game definitely scares me more than Braden Locke does. But this is by no means I don't look at this as a pushover. Like, Penn State has had their trouble, at times this year. I mean, UCLA gave them a game, which was, I couldn't believe that. So, this could be a tightly contested ball game there, and it's really going to take, like, on the flip side, I think Penn State's going to have to run the ball pretty good, and they can't be one-dimensional just using Drew Aller 40 times a game. Like, Penn State plays best when both the running game, I mean, that's any team, but like, if you make Drew Aller throw the ball 40, 50 times, he can do it, but he kind of gets keyed in on like Tyler Warren, or I have my biggest concern on offense is the receiving core. It's like, who's going to step up and make plays if it's not Trey Wallace? Leon Clifford he's in and out. Like, there's a lot of guys that are just like, not consistently there week to week, other than Tyler Warren. And so yeah, long story short, like yeah, Wisconsin, you're playing Wisconsin probably at the worst time if you're a Penn State team, which is not ideal, but that's the way it goes. And for Wisconsin, this is probably when you want to see a Penn State, when you're more confident than you were early in the season. You know, you drop a couple games, and things kind of seem like doom and gloom. They've, like exactly what you said there, they flipped the script and they're playing better on both sides of the ball. Like defensively, they were getting waxed early on. Now they're clamping down and locking people down. Like, I mean, they're not giving up hardly any points at all. So yeah, this will be. I'm glad it's a late kick, because I mean that place out there. I mean, you know it more than I do, but any Big Ten, decent game like at night, I don't care where. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't care where. I mean, if it was at Northwestern, it's not going to get down like Camp Randall, but it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm like live, breathe, eat, sleep college football this time of year, and Penn State coming off a bye. I'm just ready to get back to it, because it's like it feels like forever sometimes when you're on the bye and everybody else is playing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know where. I guess College Game Day won't be there. There's probably bigger matchups out there, but
they're in Indiana. They're going to be in Indiana, I believe.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, it's hopefully Saturday comes soon. Like I'm gearing up for it. Like I'm ready for it. I'm ready to get it going already. So.
Oh yeah. And I was wrong about Northwestern's field. It was a pretty cool view. It was a scenic view there of the lake of Lake Michigan. Great news though for the Badgers is strength and conditioning coach there, I believe Brady Collins is his name, jumped in Lake Michigan after the Badgers win. He told the players, "You win at Northwestern, I'll jump in the lake." So I believe I got the video here. I was just gonna pull that up. It's on Twitter there from Badger football.
That's a little gnarly.
Can't get the video. Oh, there it is. Hold on.
Just take a dip.
Okay, I thought you were gonna go straight in off the rock. Take some time. Try to find the right. You gotta find the right angle. I should play rock. There you go. There you go. Straight in the Lake Michigan. You gotta love that. You gotta love that if you're a Badger fan, right? You gotta love that if you're a Badger fan. That was great. That was great. So I got the players fired up. But that's the kind of fun that Wisconsin's having right now, right? That's something that you only can have when you're winning football games, when everything's going the right way. You got stuff like that happening where the players are involved, coaches are involved. It's just there's a different kind of buzz right now in Madison. So you got to love that if you're a Badger fan. So Badgers get the win 23-3 over the Northwestern Wildcats. We can't wait to get more into the Badgers as the week goes on here on Tuesday. On the next live show, we're going to get into the Badgers a little bit more. We're going to get looking towards that daunting matchup with number 3 Penn State when they come into town against the Badgers here coming up this next weekend, 6:30 kick on NBC. Can't wait. Cannot wait for that game. It should be a good one there, Aaron. So let's get in. Let's look at the rest of the college football weekend. I just want to look at some of the big games there, some of what we saw in some of these bigger games. So, I mean, Big Ten-wise, Oregon, Purdue did not stand much of a chance. 35-0 was the final there. So let's just move past that game there. There was a couple other ones, Aaron. A couple other ones. Georgia got the win over Texas, 30-15. Aaron, this was not what we expected whatsoever in this game. Georgia's defensive line showed us a lot in this game here. I don't know. I'm watching this game, and I'm like, this might be a different game if Texas stops turning the ball over in plus territory, right? They kept giving Georgia the football in short field situations, and Georgia was able to capitalize, which is all credit to Georgia. I'm not taking anything away from Georgia, but it makes you wonder, okay, now if Texas punts the ball away, what changes in this one, right? Texas turning the ball over is what I thought really changed this game. You have Quinn Ewers in there. He struggles early on. You go to Arch Manning. That doesn't work any better there. But the turnovers, 3 turnovers for Texas in this one, that's a killer. That's a killer right off the bat there. I don't want to take away from what Georgia did in this game because they defensively controlled this one. But you really look at it, Carson Beck did not play that good in this game. 23 for 41. Didn't play that good. The run game, 110 yards on the ground for Georgia. They ran the ball when they had to, but Texas turning it over in plus territory was a backbreaker for them early in this one, and then they weren't able to make up enough late in this one to come back.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, we're used to Georgia's defensive line being like just one of those things, but I mean, really, this year hasn't been to the level. I mean, you think about all the guys that have come through that program. It's, they don't have like quite to that level of caliber players. It seems like, at least, but I mean, this was one I mean, lately since we've been doing these picks, I look like I look clueless, but I picked. I felt this good about this one. I did. I felt like Georgia would. Like this was a win they kind of needed, honestly. I mean, already having one loss on the season, like you want to get back to. I mean, now they're number 2, so boom, right back in the mix. I expected Texas to fall at some point, and this is like, arguably their toughest opponent. Really, I mean, really, it is. Especially the latter part of their schedule. I mean, they play a couple ranked teams. I mean, if you consider Vanderbilt 25th, and
Vanderbilt moved up.
Yeah, right. But I don't think anybody thinks Vanderbilt's beating. I mean, we saw them beat Alabama, but I mean, this was the big, like, this was kind of like the measuring stick for me for Texas, because I was kind of on the opposite of, like, I don't know how good this, like, I know they're good, but how good are they? And they didn't play well. I mean, they really, especially in you point to the quarterback position, bringing in Arch Manning, like, it was just kind of like a mess in the offensive side of things for Texas there. And then on the flip side, I mean, Carson Beck is not that great, really. He's really not that great. I wouldn't even say he did enough to win. They just found a way. Like Georgia, the team found a way more than, like, he was shooting them in the foot, like almost like enough to kind of ruin it for him. But they found a way to overcome Carson Beck in this one, which is problematic. I mean, if you're a Georgia fan and you don't have like a great quarterback, that it's not great. But the defense made plays, like they forced turnovers, like you said. I mean, you could almost say, did Georgia win this game or did Texas lose? That classic argument. Did Texas lose? Excuse me, this game. Yeah, it was just kind of sloppy. I mean, but Georgia comes out with the win. Texas, you got to win out from here. Here forward. They're a college football playoff team. You would, unless barring something catastrophic, but it's number 5 when you're number 1, dropping to 5, that doesn't hit the same. Like, the hype falls down a little bit. You take a hit for sure.
You mentioned it there. Georgia's defensive line won this game. Like, that's plain. They put the pressure on Ewers. They put the pressure on Arch Manning. Like, it didn't matter who you threw in there. They were putting pressure on them, making mistakes. They had no time to throw a football. They had zero time. That pass rush was in their face faster than they could snap the ball. And then, the offensive line for Texas, when you saw it in the third quarter, Texas was able to kind of settle in. They put together a quick drive. They got down the field. They put in the end zone. Like, it was like boom, boom, boom. They're done, right? And I just think, they dug themselves so deep of a hole that it was almost impossible to dig themselves back out of it, right? Georgia was going to figure it out at some point. So, there's a controversial part to this, right? Fans start throwing stuff on the field after a bad call. It was a terrible call. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what's Kirby Smart annoys the crap out of me because he is the biggest whiner I think I've ever watched on a sideline. Like, there's coaches out there, they'll complain, they'll scream, they'll do everything they want, right? Kirby Smart takes it to another level. This guy is an overgrown baby at times on the sideline. After the game, they tried to screw us with calls and we still tried to get – No, Kirby. Hold on a second. The 2 targeting calls that were called against your team were targeting. I don't care what you say. In the rule book, it says if you lead with the crown of your helmet, it is targeting. Your 2 guys led with the crown of their helmet. I don't care what you think, that's targeting. So, okay, they made the right call, right? The pass interference call that they tried to call against Texas on that pick that got reversed, now that was weird, right? It doesn't usually happen. You usually don't reverse a call. It was the right thing to reverse that call. That was a terrible call. Like, I don't care who you are, Georgia fan, Alabama fan, whoever you are out there, that was a terrible call. It should never have been called. The offensive player engaged with the secondary. He pushed back. The throw wasn't even close to his guy, right? Carson Beck didn't even make a good throw. He actually threw it to Texas' defender there. He housed it. They called pass interference. Bottles start getting thrown on the field. Craziness starts to unfold there. But at the end of the day, they ended up making the right call. So I don't care, Kirby, what you think. The refs didn't try to screw you. You guys are an undisciplined football team that tried to screw yourselves, and yet you found a way to win a football game. So congratulations. That's all I got to say on that. all I gotta say on that. It was a controversial thing that happened. I don't know if you're supposed to reverse calls. Nobody ever does that. But guess what? At the end of the day, honestly, them throwing the bottles on the field actually reversed that call because they started throwing bottles on the field. The refs had all the time in the world to stand together. They probably stood there and said, that was a crap call. You suck at your job. Yeah, we should probably change that. Okay, let's change it. Can we do that? No, probably not, but we should because otherwise we're probably going to get – do we have to go outside after the game and meet these Texas fans? Well, probably. They're going to be out in the parking lots too. Yeah, let's reverse the call. That's probably how it went down in the huddle there between them guys because they stood there talking to each other. So, I mean, just a craptastic performance by Texas all the way around. It told us a lot about Texas, but I think they'll be fine. I think that was just one of those games for Texas. Like you said, they have Vanderbilt coming up. They have a couple games to right the ship here. I believe they have Texas A&M to end the season. I don't know if that's on the road or if that's at home there. It's on the road. It's on the road in Texas A&M. But you think that Texas will right the ship there. They dropped to number 5. Not a huge blow. They're down to number 5, still only with one loss. You'll survive, right? Next game I wanted to talk about, Alabama-Tennessee. Aaron, I told you Tennessee would win this game. I told you they would. It wasn't a great game by any means. Alabama, man, they do not impress me. Jalen Milroe is not playing like he's the number 3 prospect in the NFL draft or in the quarterback room. He's actually playing like I don't even know what you would compare him to at this point here. 25 for 45 on the game, 239. Not a great game out of Jalen Milroe. Not a great game from Alabama all the way around. It wasn't a great game, honestly, at all. I mean, the first half, 7-0, and the first half, like I'm going through the day thinking this could be the game of the day, and it didn't live up to that hype at first. Second half, though, it was some good football. It was definitely some good football there.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of already hit the nail on the head with. Yeah, what has happened to Miller? Like, I don't know. I wasn't even that big on him last year. Like, I thought he was decent, but I mean, you think of like the quarterbacks that have come through there. It's kind of hard to, like, even last year, I just don't think you could put him up with the Tuas of the world. Even like Jalen Hurts had a good run there. I mean, AJ McCarron, like the list goes on and on and on. Like some of these guys haven't panned out at the next level, sure, but like I always kind of had my like I didn't trust that guy fully, and then like you saw it against Michigan, he just I don't know what it is with him. Like I think he has the ability. Like I never questioned that. Like he can't. He doesn't have the. I just think he gets unglued a little bit mentally, and I don't know. I mean, are you? I'm not gonna say is Alabama gonna like they're not gonna fall off the map as far as relevancy, but like is it a thing where like maybe the Nick Saban era exits the door and they're not I mean it's so easy to think that already, like that's probably the easiest like opinion to have, but I mean I just it's hard for me to picture them being as dominant as they were under Saban. Now are they somewhere in between what they are right now and in the grand scheme? Maybe, but it's really hard to read this team. Like, I expected them. This is a statement game. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy to go into Tennessee and get a win. Obviously it's not, but you lose this game and like people start stirring the pot. Like, okay, what is this coach really like? How good is this coach? How much do we miss Nick Saban? Like the fans down there expect, like, I think this guy had one of the hardest, as far as a head coaching job to come into. It's one of the hardest positions you can be in because you're held to like a perfect standard. And the fact that they're losing games is problematic. Like at the end of the day, they're like, their attitude's kind of like we're the best or nothing. Like it's either we're the best or like whatever. It's not like we don't want to be this like second tier or second fiddle team. Like that's just not how they operate. So it's gonna be interesting how the fan base and how they move forward from this. Like, do they finish out the year strong? Do they kind of? I mean, we've seen this for weeks now that they've just kind of been. I wouldn't even say Jekyll and Hyde. They're just not a consistent team. It's in my opinion, you can say at this point, Alabama's not consistent.
Undisciplined. That's the way I like to put it. That is an undisciplined football team, and Nick Saban wouldn't have had no parts of that. But right now, that's what we're seeing. Kellen DeBoer does not have control over that football team, and that's where I see a lot of these problems stemming from right now. You see it on the defense. You see it on the offense. It's undisciplined football right now for Alabama, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty at the moment. So we'll see if the Tide kind of rights the tide, right? They got to right that ship. They got to get her going in the right direction here pretty soon. So there's a couple other games I just wanted to touch into. Indiana completely just destroys Nebraska, 56-7. Like, this wasn't even a game. Indiana is for real. I don't know who out there needs to still be told that Kurt Singetti has done a fantastic job with this Indiana team, but I'm going to tell you right now, this Indiana team's for real. They're going to compete at the top of the Big Ten. I don't know. We haven't seen them against a team like Oregon or a team like Ohio State yet, but this Indiana team, 56-7 over Nebraska. There was a lot more praise and love for Nebraska's defense, Dylan Raiola coming in. Like, this was supposed to be a turnover year for Nebraska, just like Indiana's starting to produce. This wasn't even a ball game. 21 points in the second quarter for Indiana. They were up 28-7 at the half, and then they put up 28 points in the second half against this Nebraska team with a pretty solid defense. So, I mean, Aaron, Indiana's for real, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've kind of gone back and forth, but with them, but there really is no reason to. Like, they have, I mean, they're checking all the boxes. Like, they're putting up monster points. I mean, I was watching this game early on, and I was like, oh, here we go. Like, when are they going to really come alive here? But I mean, they just turned it on in the second half. And yeah, I mean, we talked about the fact that, this is a team that's they're competing for the Big Ten right now. And it's so funny because, like, I shouldn't say it's funny, but like they were a pushover for how long? Like, they weren't relevant to this even close to. I mean, I can't remember the last time they were ranked above like 20. You know what I mean? Like, they would hover in the rankings for a little bit and then just kind of fall to the wayside. And like, yeah, I mean, credit to the way I mean, Nebraska, not a bad program, you don't think? I mean, Matt Rule, everything else there, but I mean, I don't know. Can you put them up with like the Ohio State, Penn State? I mean, the way Wisconsin's playing right now, I mean, I guess you on paper you can, like, the way they're playing. Yes, it's just like Nebraska is a tier down from those schools, I think, right now at least. But I mean, Indiana's a classic. Whoever's in front of us, we're beating, and like they're beating them decisively. So you have to give their credit where credit's due right now, at least.
That's a good defense. That's good offense, and I can't wait to see him against a good team. I can't wait to see him against a good team. They had Rourke did go out with an injury in that one for Indiana, so you're hoping that he had a hand injury. You're hoping everything's okay on that end. It was already a route. Maybe they just kept him out precautionary. But you have a date with Ohio State at near the end of the season here. Before you play Purdue, you play Ohio State. You have Michigan on there yet, so a couple of big games there for Indiana. I'm hoping that could be a great game between them and Ohio State. It could be for the top of the Big Ten. I mean, you could be talking for that be top of the Big Ten regular season title kind of thing there. So that should be a fantastic matchup there. And last but not least, Aaron, you picked Michigan. I told you Illinois was going to win that football game. 21-7, that game ends. Michigan still does not have a quarterback, and that is their biggest problem.
Yeah. I mean, of the major games, I think you went 2-1, I went 1-2, so not pretty on my end. Credit to you. I will tip my cap there. But yeah, I expected, like, my prediction was just it wasn't going to be pretty, but Michigan would overpower them defensively, and like it really didn't. They didn't do enough, obviously. I mean, looking down, no turnovers for Illinois. They played a clean game. Time of possession went the way of Michigan, so you would think, most of the time, you get time of possession, but you didn't cash in. It's the same. You could look at like, Northwestern. They were close to time of possession with Wisconsin, but you didn't score any. You score 7 points, and Northwestern scores 3. Like, you're not going to win many games like that. So unless you're Iowa, but I mean, like you said, I mean, they have no quarterback. Even the run game, I mean, you look at 4.6 yards a carry, but like, one touchdown out of Khalil Mullings. And then Donovan Edwards is kind of like forgotten about at this point. He's just the whole Michigan. I mean, you kind of force Michigan, like you can load the box against them and like just make, whoever's playing quarterback, like this week it's Jack Tuttle. They just they can't seem to get it together, which I'm here for it. 4-3. I love to see that. That's a beautiful sight. And for everybody that's not a Michigan fan, because they're a program. I think you either love them or hate them most of the time. And I mean, you look at like Illinois in this game. They don't do anything super impressive on offense. Like I do like Brent Villema, the coach over there, but like offensively, they're not as great as what I would think they would be by now. With him being there for quite some time. But to their credit, I mean, this is kind of one of those. This feels like a Big Ten game, right? 21-7, like just grind it out. But like Luke Altmaier, like I mean, 9 for 18, 80 yards. Like you look at that and you're like, there's no way they won this game, and they did. So it's I don't think Illinois is. I thought they were better early in the season, but I mean, not to take anything away from them, you beat Michigan, but like how good? Like Michigan is really not what they were. And then I mean, credit to Illinois. It's real interesting there too, though. It's like Michigan's got to be missing, like the fan base got to be missing Harbaugh already, because I mean, dropping 3 games already, 4-3 is not. They're not used to that in quite some time either.
When you don't have a quarterback, it's tough to win football games. That's all I know. It's tough to win football games. One last stat about Indiana, because I just pulled up the Big Ten standings there. They are 7-0. They're on top of the Big Ten right now. But you look at the points for and points against them in games so far this year. They've scored 341 points. They've allowed 96 points. You put that into comparison with like Oregon, 242 to 116, Penn State 205 to 87, Illinois 207 to 127, Ohio State 261 to 66. That is just impressive offensive numbers there by Indiana so far. Now, they haven't played a lot of great teams, so don't get me wrong. They haven't played a lot of great teams, but your offense is able to put up points like that. That's impressive all the way around. So Indiana improves. They jumped up to number 13 in the country. So right now in the Big Ten, there's 5 teams ranked. Oregon's number 1, Penn State's number 3, Ohio State's number 4, Indiana's at 13, and Illinois is at 20. Wisconsin's sitting at 5-2 right now. They are unranked yet, but after they beat Penn State, I expect them to move into the top 25. Come on now, that's just how it's going to be, right? That's just how it's going to be. So I know I told you guys we'd have Hunter on here tonight to talk about some Big Ten hockey, to talk about Wisconsin hockey. He was not able to jump on tonight. We know the Badgers men's team did drop 2 games over the weekend there to Ohio State. The women's team continues to keep on rolling there. They got a big win, big dominant win over the weekend there. So over Minnesota, pretty good Minnesota team too. So we're going to get Hunter either on here, or he's going to record us a little message that we'll play here on the show, give his recap of that Minnesota-Ohio State game. He sent me his big old monologue, his dialogue again of both games, but I don't want you to hear from me. I want you to hear from him himself, because he's a great hockey guy. He knows what the heck he's talking about there. I don't want to read his words. I want you guys to hear it directly from him. So he's going to record us a little message there, or try to get on with us on Tuesday there, and we'll talk a little Big Ten hockey. We'll talk Wisconsin women's and men's hockey. We'll get into it all. So make sure you guys are staying tuned on Tuesday there. But Aaron, I want to get to, before we get to the Packers and Texans game, a big game that we watched over the weekend there, I want to get to our fact of the day. So what do we got? Fact of the day here.
Let's get that back up here. Shoot, I have so many. Give me 1 second. I promise you, I got it. There we go. It is, unfortunately, it's about the Yankees, but it is a good fact. No, nevertheless, American baseball player and Hall of Fame legendary player Mickey Mantle, one, tremendous player, power from both, left and the right side of the plate there, switch hitter, born on this day, 1931. So quite some time ago, but I tried to at least make it sports centric. Usually it's been kind of politics or, that type of thing. So Mickey Mantle, the great, born on this day, 1931.
There we go. Now we know. I did not know that. I did not know when his birthday was. So that now we know. Happy birthday to Mickey Mantle. That's all I know. Happy birthday to Mickey Mantle out there. So, Aaron, let's get into a little Packer football, huh? A little Packer football. What a game. What an ugly. I went through a Badger and a Packer game where they were wins, but you could classify them as ugly wins, right? This wasn't a great showing by the Green Bay Packers on the offensive side of the football. Jordan Love, that's where I wanted to start. Let's start with Jordan Love here. So Jordan Love goes 24 for 33, 220 yards there, 3 touchdowns, but he has those 2 picks, right? And those 2 picks are ugly picks. He had a couple other throws in this game where you're standing there, you're scratching your head. You're like, why'd you make that throw? Why are you throwing in this kind of situation to this guy? I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to bash Jordan Love, right? He's my franchise quarterback. I'm not sitting here bashing Jordan Love. The decision-making time for Jordan Love is what I'm really looking for the progression now, right? He's gone through a couple games. I mean, Jordan, let's look at his stats on the season so far here. 8 interceptions on the year so far. 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions on the year. Not terrible, right? With the 8 interceptions, not terrible, but it's also not great. You don't want your quarterback turning the ball over at a high clip. In a game against the Texans, if they were able to get their offense going, which they weren't, because we'll get to it here, but the Packers defense looked very good in this game. But if the Texans got that going, those 2 takeaways may have been killers for the Packers in this one. So, Aaron, I mean, I don't want to say that he's like a mix of Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre for me, right? He's got that Aaron Rodgers back leg, like let's whip it down their throat, but he's also got the Brett Favre mentality. We saw it on the Tucker Kraft throw into the back of the end zone. An amazing play by Tucker Kraft to get out and get it, right? An amazing throw by Jordan Love, but he's also got that gunslinger mentality where he ain't afraid to throw it into anybody at any time. The window might be like just a peep open, but he's going to try to fit that football through that peep there. Like, what are you seeing right now? Does that worry you that Jordan Love's decision making is kind of questionable at times there? It doesn't, for me, I want to see him clean it up, right? Mistake interceptions happen, but I want to see him make up those ill-advised throws at times. That's something that I'm watching for there. Are you at the point where you're like, this is making me a little nervous here? Or are you like, we'll let it ride?
Yeah, I'm always. I mean, I'm I'm always. I shouldn't say glass half empty when it comes to quarterback, but I kind of am because I hate seeing a guy. I'm not saying you got to play a clean game every week, but we've kind of seen a little bit of a pattern of him throwing multiple interceptions. A couple times this year. So yeah, I mean, I think it's got to get better. I don't say, oh, you live in people live and die with the home run type of players. I get that. Same thing can be applied for football. I mean, you saw that with Brett Favre. Like that's the guy that's going for the home run almost every time downfield and stuff like that. The big play, the splash play. Sometimes checking it. I mean, Brady, as much as I can't stand him, he made a living off checking it down. Live to see another day. Live to see another play, live to see another drive. I think, Jordan Love's still a young guy, obviously. I'm not going to say this is what he's going to be. We probably haven't seen his potential yet, but it is at least like, I don't want to say it's worrisome, but it's something that you want to see him improve upon. It's not something you're just going to take lightly forever. He's the type of guy that he can fit it into small windows, but then at the same time, you eventually that catches up with you, and you see that, with some of the interceptions he's throwing. I mean, they did enough to once again where it's kind of been the point today on a lot of these games we've talked about. They did enough to win. I think Stroud definitely. I mean, credit Green Bay's defense, and I'm sure you'll get into that. But I almost think Stroud he was kind of inconsistent all day too. Like he didn't find a rhythm really, and I think that hurt them. I mean, Nico Collins being out there, people will say, oh, well, you need all your guys. Like the best quarterbacks find a way, even when you don't have your best guys. So it's one of those things. I mean, you can't win every game if you're the Texans. You drop to 5-2, and Green Bay improves to 5-2 there. But yeah, I mean, Diggs really did do nothing for them offensively, which was kind of mind-boggling a little bit to me. I know Green Bay's been playing better defensively, but I mean, you look at Houston, like they play a clean game, no turnovers. Packers with 3, and the offense just was not able to do much of anything, really. I mean, you put up 19 points there, that doesn't win you many games. So, or I'm sorry, 22 with that field goal, and then the Packers come down and win it. But I don't know. I mean, do you because you're the Packers connoisseur here? It's like, do you look at it as the Packers defense just kind of ate them alive all day long, or was it inefficiency by the Houston offense, or kind of a combination of both?
Combination of both, right? The Packers' run defense struggled at times in this game. Joe Mixon was able to get yards against this Packers' run defense. It was when it came to the passing game that I actually loved what I saw out of Jeff Hafley. And late in the game, the Packers' run defense looked fantastic. Like, they looked fantastic late in this one, forcing that field goal late, that the Packers were able to drive down the field, then kick a field goal themselves, win the ball game. I look at this Packers rush defense in this game, and the thing that I loved out of Jeff Hafley was he kind of ran it like Brian Flores did with the Vikings against them, right? He brings 8 guys to the line, and then all of a sudden only 4 guys are rushing, right? It was something that he did to C.J. Stroud all day long. Was all of a sudden you'd have Evan Williams coming down from the safety spot. He's standing there on the defensive line, and you're like, okay, he's coming. We don't even have enough blockers in the backfield for all these guys. And then all of a sudden the snap goes, and you don't know who's coming, who's not coming. Guys are dropping back in coverage. You love those kinds of scheming up of games there. So Jeff Hafley, he got a game ball in this one for me. He was fantastic. He was fantastic play calling in this one. Rashawn Gary has received a boatload of criticism from me, other Packer fans, whoever you want to call it in this one. He did fantastic in this one, chasing C.J. Stroud around. The thing with C.J. Stroud, you want to look at a difference between Stroud and Love, right? Everybody looks for differences in quarterbacks. Stroud is better in the pocket. When he can stand in the pocket, he can deliver a football. He's fantastic. The thing the Packers did in this game was they chased him around, right? He didn't have a lot of time in the pocket to try and deliver a throw. And that's what that's what teams need to try to aim to do against him. He does not like throwing on the run. Can he throw on the run? Yes, but it's not his forte, right? Every quarterback has that thing. It's not his. He's a pocket passer. And that's something the Packers took away from him because they're constantly in the backfield, right? The Packers had 11 tackles for loss in this game. 11 tackles for loss. I mean, you're talking about Eric Wilson, a linebacker, comes in, gets switched in because Quay Walker goes down with a concussion. Hopefully, all's good on his end. It's just a minor little thing and that he'll be back out there. But you insert Edgerrin Cooper, you bring in Eric Wilson. He comes in there too. Wilson had a big day. 6 tackles, 6 solo, 2 sacks, and he had 4 tackles for loss. That's a big-time performance out of a not-so-known guy, right? Those are some of the guys where you need him to step up. He stepped up big time. And then you look at other guys. Xavier McKinney coming out of the safety spot, tackle for a loss and a sack in this one. Sean Gary finally gets into the backfield, makes a sack there, has another tackle for a loss. You have Kenny Clark with 2 tackles for a loss. Edgerrin Cooper, 2 tackles for a loss. Lucas Van Ness getting into the party, a tackle for a loss. The Packers put C.J. Stroud under distress this entire ball game. And that's something that, we talked about it this last week on Friday, leading up into the weekend. We're like, how do the Packers have so many interceptions on the year, but they put 0 pressure on quarterbacks? How is that even possible, right? We're like, this doesn't even make sense. How are quarterbacks being forced to throw picks? Well, not under pressure. The Packers flipped the script in this one. They found a way to get to C.J. Stroud. They confused the crap out of that offensive line for the Texans there. C.J. Stroud didn't know it was coming. The Texans were kind of caught off guard all day long by this pass rush, and that's something you tip your cap to Jeff Hafley. He drew that up. He called a fantastic game plan. You love every single bit of that. And like I said, I mean, you're talking about guys like Rashawn Gary. We've been on his back all season long to get into the act. Finally, he has a good game like this. He's putting pressure on the quarterback. He has 3 quarterback hits in this game. Like, that's something Rashawn Gary has been lacking on this year. We paid him big money to be that guy. He was that guy for the Packers today. He stepped up in a big game, right? You looked at the Packers schedule. They're 4-2 going up into this game. But you looked at the teams they played. Not great teams, right? So everybody, I heard a lot of people out there like on Barstool, Big Cat. He said, well, why is everybody all crapping on the Bears for their 4-2 record against bad teams? And nobody's looking at the Packers because they haven't beat anybody good, right? They lost to the Eagles. They lost to the Vikings. They hadn't beaten anybody good, right? So this defense stepped up to the occasion when the offense was a little bit shaky, right? You look at the second half for the Packers there. They had that early touchdown in the second half. Outside of that, not a whole lot happening on the offensive side. I actually got nervous late in the game because I'm like, we haven't moved the football in like 15 minutes. How are we going to move the football now, right? It's late in the game. How are we going to move football? They found a way, right? It's almost a win's a win, right? A win's a win, but sometimes you learn a lot more about a team in ugly wins, right? Finding a way. Good football teams win bad games, right? Good football teams find a way to win bad games. That's what the Packers did here today. They did that in this game. You had Tank Dell, who has been going off this season. You held him to 0 yards on 4 targets, 0 catches, 0 yards, 0s on 4 targets. That's awesome. Stephon Diggs in this game, 5 catches for 23 yards, 7 targets. Like, Stephon Diggs still got his, right? But he was limited, right? You held 2 of the bigger guys on this team to limited yards. Now, it does help that C.J. Stroud didn't have a great day from the pocket, but that leads back to the Packers defense, the Packers defensive line, the secondary for Green Bay, stepping up big time in this game to make things happen. You love every bit about it. The only thing that kind of concerned me still was the run defense was iffy at times. The Texans, I mean, could march down the field at times there with the run game and just run at will, and they kind of went away from that. So I came out of this game. We went into this and I said to you, the Packers have a great offense. The Texans have a great offense. The Texans have a good defense. The Packers have a bend but don't break defense that I was kind of like, okay, we need to find out more about this defense. They showed me a lot in this game. They showed me a lot. They showed me, I don't know, we could be a heck of a good defense. We could be a defense that could shut down one of the better teams in the AFC. I don't come out of this game thinking the Texans are a bad football team. I don't come out of this game thinking CJ Stroud isn't all that. He's a good quarterback. We saw what he did last year. We saw what he's done early on this year. If I'm a Texans fan, I'm not waving the white flag. I'm not like blaring sirens right now that the world is ending, right? The Texans are a good football team. The Packers just came out in this game, and the defense was the storyline, and you love that. Josh Jacobs did his dirty work in this one, 12 carries, 76 yards. He continues to be big time. Romeo Doubs making big catches for the Packers, 8 receptions on 10 targets, 94 yards in this game. Dontavian Wicks, 3 for 6. He had a big touchdown in this one. Kraft, we mentioned him before with a big touchdown. Josh Jacobs, first receiving touchdown in his career. I couldn't believe that. I didn't know that. You wouldn't have thought, right? I mean, this guy, I was trying to remember how long he's been in the league, but he's been in the league for a couple years now. 2019 was his first season there, but first receiving touchdown in the NFL. So that's awesome, right? That's an awesome thing for Josh Jacobs to finally get in the end zone there. But the greatest part we talk about every week, the supporting cast of characters for the Packers, right? The wide receiver room. One week it's Reed, the next week it's Dobbs, the next week it's Wicks, right? It proved in this game because Reed and Watson, you look at those two combined in this game. You had 3 catches on 6 targets for 19 yards between Reed and Watson. 2 of your bigger guys last week against the Cardinals. In this one, kind of held in check, right? But then you have guys like Dobbs, Wicks, Kraft, those guys go off. So that's the greatest part about having a wide receiver room with so much talent. You can spread the ball around. That's what the Packers did in this one. I loved every second of it. It was, all around a great football game. A lot was learned there, and actually a fan was ejected. We had a fan. Okay, so Joe Mixon comes running down, right? I can see if I can find I don't know if I'll be able to find the video fast enough. But Joe Mixon comes down, scores a touchdown, right? He tries to go do a Lambeau leap. And he tries to jump up there, and the Packer fan is up in the stands there. I mean, they listed him online as yellow overalls. Like, this guy's just stout, right? He's up in the stands there, and Joe Mixon tries to jump, and he, pushes him back down. He pushes him back to the down on the ground there. He didn't fall or nothing. It was nothing crazy or anything like that. But they called it an egregious act, and they ejected him from the game. But hats off to that guy. I don't know if this video or this show will ever get to you, but I support you, and if they fine you, I want you to let me start a GoFundMe for you, and we'll get that fine taken care of. Because respect to you, nobody does the Lambeau leap in Green Bay except for Green Bay Packers, all right? McManus, with that walk-off field goal, earned it. He earned it, Aaron. He earned that. Joe Mixon, I don't care. You don't earn that in Lambeau, all right? You're done. You're done. But that was awesome, too. One last thing before I flip it to you, of anything that impressed you in this game. Brandon McManus kicks no field goals all game long. He's got the 3 extra points, right? He's kicked a couple extra points in this one, but he doesn't kick all day long, right? No field goals kicked by Brandon McManus. We go down last drive of the game there. And I'm sitting there, and I'm at my grandma's house watching Grandma and Grandpa, my aunt's there, and I looked at my grandpa and I was like, I can't believe this, but he's going to get his first field goal opportunity in Green Bay for a game winner. Like, that's what this is setting up for. Sure enough, comes down, 45-yarder, we expect McManus to kick, right? They ice him, everything like that. He comes back out, kicks it. It's heading straight for that left upright. And I'm like, oh no, please. And then it shifts back to the right, straight through. And I'm like, yes, we have our guy. This is our guy. The Packers have sucked 40 to 49-yard field goals. They've sucked. He kicked a 45-yarder straight through. Gotta love that. Anders Carlson misses an extra point for the 49ers. Gotta love that too. Ex-Packer missed an extra points for them. Irony. That's irony for him. Gotta love that too. So great stuff all the way around. McManus is the hero in Green Bay with that walk-off kick. Aaron, what did you like in this game?
I mean, as corny, or I'm not gonna say cliche, I'm a bit, we talk about this a lot. I'm a big uniform guy. I don't know what it is. It's just something about sports jerseys. Those Packers jerseys grew on me, right? Like when we talked about them last week, or right before the weekend there on the Friday show, I was like, not big on them, but like when actually seeing them on the field, pretty, as the kids would say, icy, right? Icy with the white. I mean, just pretty cool. So, I mean, that's not like a takeaway from the game, really. I mean, I am a big Jordan Love guy. Like I've told you that before. And I always kind of put that. I mean, Green Bay's 2 for 2 in the last quarterbacks they've gotten, right? Brett. You go Favre and then you go Rodgers. Like you pretty much nail both of those. I mean, Love. Like even though Love didn't play a pretty game, like I still the fact that like he has that cannon. Like you know what I mean? If he can just basically if he can just kind of be a little bit more careful with the football, like he can put the ball in a lot of spots that I would say, some guys can't, or, you could even say maybe most guys can't, some guy. But I mean, I totally get where you're coming from with the pass rush getting after CJ Stroud. That's definitely an aspect. I did kind of think that, like, I don't know. I'm not going to say Stroud, like, should have 100% played better, but at times I was a little bit boggled. I mean, I maybe he was overwhelmed, right? Because like you don't see him become unglued, and like I felt like you can credit the Packers defense for that 100%. I just think Stroud became unglued in this game to a certain degree, and then like that's what you'd love to see if you're a Packers fan. And then like you said, McManus. I mean, that's as much as I'm not a kicker fan, like I'm like, oh, like I wish games didn't come down to kickers sometimes. Like that's just me. That's my opinion. But like you rise to the occasion, right? Like that's a make or break moment. Because if you don't make that, then what? Like, are you even brought back next week? Like you're brought off the scrap heap. Basically, you're literally brought off, the free agency market, and you're like, hey, we'll give this guy a chance. And it proved true. Like it proved to be the right move in the moment. So will he be their kicker by week 17? Time will tell. But given the opportunity, like this Sunday, October 20th, he did his thing, right? And that's all you ask. Like that's if you would have lost this game, you'd be cursing McManus forever. It's just like even though it's a regular season game, it's like Love put you in position to win the game, and as the kicker, your job is to in fact win that game. So, yeah, I mean that's a big test. I wanted to see so many tabs, like I said, but I want to see who Green Bay has coming up on their schedule because I mean that's got to be one of their biggest tests so far this season.
We got the Jaguars.
There you go. So that should be a smooth victory, I would think. Think. You never know. But.
You never know. You never know with those games. After you win some of them big games, right? Sometimes you play them craptastic teams and they find a way. So you don't know. I mean, Jaguars got a big win over the Patriots, I guess. You
called that, yeah.
Maybe they're starting to figure something out. I don't know. Like, it could be.
They need it. That's a game where I wouldn't be afraid to like take the Jags on a spread, only because the Packers coming off that big win, and like the Jags need this next. Like they need to keep rolling. If they don't keep rolling, they're pretty. You put them in a position where you're shot. Like you have to go on a massive winning streak. So like. Not saying the Packers will lose, but it feels like a trap game. It feels like the Jags need that game. Absolutely need that game.
No, I agree. And, one last thing, I was just looking at the stats from this game, just something to touch on, too. The Packers held the Texans to 4 for 13 on third downs. 4 for 13. That's something we talked about on last week, Friday, there, the preview. We said the Packers had to find a way to get off the field on third downs. They found a way to get off the field on third down. 4 for 13 is fantastic. Now, 4 for 10 on the other side for you, you'd like to be around 50% or a little bit above 50%, but you'll walk away 4 for 10. You're still okay. You're still okay. You touched on Jordan Love there. You want to be more careful with the football. We don't want him to be so careful that he changes the way that he plays the game, because the way that he plays the game is exciting, right? Some of the throws that he makes while he's on the run, some of those throws are like, I don't know any other guys that could make that throw outside of maybe Patrick Mahomes or guys like that. So you don't want him to take away from what he plays, the game that he loves to play, but you also don't want to be careless with it too. You want him to make good decisions while it's happening along the way. As I'm watching the Jets Pittsburgh Steelers game here, and they just got a field goal block there. So you got to love that too. Aaron Rodgers, the new experience with Devontae Adams, you got to love that. You got to love the struggle of that game. But all the way around, a fantastic game by the Green Bay Packers. You had 3 turnovers. You didn't turn the Texans over at all in this game. You found a way to win it in the end. Like I said, it tells you something about good teams when they win games that look bad, right? It tells you a lot about a team. You want to see your team play A+ football all the time. But if they find a way to win a game like this where some of the things don't seem like they're going your way, and yet you find a way to win, I mean, you'll take that. You'll take that all day long and twice on Sunday, right? That's just what you want sometimes. So, I mean, just trying to see if there's anything else we wanted to recap on this game, but not a whole lot here. Not a whole lot that I can pick off the top of my head here. Oh, one last thing I just wanted to mention, because I don't think punters get enough love in the game of football. Daniel Whelan for the Packers, they have a fantastic punter. 5 punts, 284 yards. His average was 56 yards there. His average was 56. Now, the Packers, you talk about that 4 for 10 on third down, not getting a lot of first downs there. They Whelan flipped the field for him, right? And that's something that, is very underappreciated on a good football team, is a great punter, right? And Daniel Whelan has proved to be a great punter for the Green Bay Packers week after week. He finds ways to flip the field. And that's something that every good team needs, right? It's a very underappreciated position. I just wanted to mention him there because 5 punts, 284 yards, 56 on the average there. That's a pretty good day. That's a pretty good day if you ask me. I don't know, Aaron. Are punters underappreciated in NFL?
I'm not a fan of like kickers or punters. I will be on Front Street about. I mean, like I don't. They're people too, right? I'm not gonna like say that shouldn't be your job. I'm not gonna strip your job away from you, but I mean, yeah, when you have a good punt, it makes a difference, right? Like now, are they underappreciated? I'm not going to go that far because you're.
Oh, come on. We don't talk about them, Aaron. We don't talk about them. We talk about punters more.
Well, I mean, we're talking about them today. Like, we're giving them credit, right? But, like, I don't know, man. Like, I can't put them in the same, like, running back, tight end. Like, you're just. I'm not going to
No. We're on tiers here. We're on tiers.
Yeah, okay, all right. That's – yeah,
I mean, third tier.
If we recognize them as specialists and not – I can't even say they're a football player. Can I say that they're a specialist and not a football player? Or is that too insulting?
A football player specialist. They're still a football player, but I mean, come on. There's some punters who what's that? Marquise King was his name from the Raiders. Like, he was a pretty impressive. Like, he could throw the – like, there's some punters that could throw the ball around.
Well, yeah, I'm not trying to say they're all like – yeah, I'm not trying to say, like, they're good for one thing and one thing. I mean, some of them are. I will tell you that right now. But, like, I mean, I like Pat McAfee was a monster. Like, that guy was decking people. Like, he has some hit stick highlights, you know what I mean? So, I can't – like, he kind of changed it a little bit for me. I mean, without Pat McAfee, I probably wouldn't even have ever acknowledged them. But, like, he at least gave me that. A little bit of insight on that they're not just all foot fairies or whatever you want to call them, right? Like, there's a lot of demeaning names that I won't get into, but yeah, I mean, when you have a good punter, it makes a big difference, though. Like, it's one of those. It's like if you have a bad punt, it's like you only get recognized if you're bad. It's one of those things, right? Hardly ever do you get recognized if you're good, but if you're bad, everybody knows it. Same thing with a kicker. Like, if you have a bad kicker, everybody's going to tell you, like, oh man, here we go again. So, but you just kind of expect them to do their jobs. But when, like you said, if you're not converting on third down at the clip that you want, but you're pinning the team back, that's a big thing. That's a big, you're making the Texans, whoever you're playing, go the length of the field. I don't care if you have the best offense in the league. It's just, it's one of those things. Like, you definitely pinning a team back, underappreciate that part of it. Underappreciated. I'll give you that. I'm not a punter fan. Don't care to see highlight, whatever. But when you do your job, you do your job. And I'll tip my cap there.
Kyle is in the comments. He said Aaron Rodgers stinks. Just wanted to say, what's up, guys? We're doing good, Kyle. We're doing good tonight. It was, we're watching this Steelers game. I mean, Russell Wilson isn't playing terrible. Better than I expected, to be honest with you. So poor Justin Fields. I believe he has probably lost his job with Steelers if they end up winning this game. I got that feeling. He's probably lost the job there. Russell Wilson has played decent. I didn't look at the stat line. We're going to get into that game on Tuesday. We're going to get into most of the NFL on Tuesday when all these games have wrapped up. There's just one more thing. We got about a couple minutes here to talk about the Eagles-Giants game. We got to get into the Eagles for Aaron here. He's a big Philly fan. Aaron, what did we dislike? 28-3 over the Giants. Not a great team in the Giants, but still 28-3. Eagles get the win. What did you like? What you didn't like?
Yeah, I mean, I liked obviously the defense showed up today. I mean, it's a combination of you're playing a bad team, but I mean, you hold an NFL team to 3 points. You like to see that. No touchdowns, obviously, on the day for the G-men, as they call them, right? The G-men, whatever that means. But never really liked that. I never really got that.
It's got a bad ring to it if you really think about it. And then
exactly. Yep, exactly.
Nope.
Every time I hear that, yeah, it definitely rings a bell. But yeah, I mean, Hurts. I mean, you look at the stat line, far from impressive stat line. 10 for 14 for 114 passing. Like that's nothing, Russ deep ball to Pickens. Yeah, I mean, Pickens is a good receiver. He needs a quarterback. You know what I mean? He needs a guy to get him the ball consistently, and maybe Russ can be that guy at least this year. But to me, I mean, I loaded some bets in with Barkley. I thought this was like a Barkley revenge. I mean, it is. It was a Barkley revenge game, going up to the Meadowlands there, and they asked him about all these fans were burning jerseys right in front of him, and he's just like, whatever, man. Like I'm on a better. Say what you want about the Eagles this year. They might not do much. They might not do anything. They're at least somewhat run better than the Giants. Like that Giants franchise is a hot pile of trash, really, if you boil it down. I mean, I don't know if the head coach survives. I actually thought he wasn't really the problem. I mean, today the Eagles really did get after Daniel Jones there. I mean, stat line 14 of 21, didn't even pass for 100 yards. And then, Drew Locke comes in. So just ugly for the Giants. You love to see it for the Eagles there. I mean, even Kenny Gainwell, the running back everybody forgets about now, he had some touches, had some catches out of the backfield, and ran the ball decently well. So I mean, AJ Brown did his thing. Devontae Smith did absolutely nothing, which hopefully that doesn't turn into a problem. But yeah, it seems like they're limiting. I mean, that could be true too. I mean, in this game, you didn't need Jalen Hurts to drop back a million times because I mean, what the Giants are, and the Giants are banged up too defensively. Like they actually lead the league in sacks, which I heard on the broadcast, which like blows my mind. But
they got a good D line. They got a very good D line.
They do, yeah. So, I mean, overall, pretty solid win. I mean, the score towards the end of the game, I was starting to feel like, okay, I guess the score does indicate, how they played. Sometimes you'll look at a score 28-3, they killed them. I mean, it did kind of feel like it in the second half, and I mean, hopefully it's something they can build off of. I mean, sitting there 4-2. I mean, the sky was falling a couple weeks ago. Who knows? I still don't trust this team to put it together week in and week out, and definitely on both sides of the ball, I don't. But I mean, now you play the Bengals. That's going to be, I don't know. Are you going to have to chuck up 50 points to beat them? And that's my fear. Like, I don't know. This offense doesn't click week to week. So they did enough today. Do they do enough against a team that can maybe throw up, a 35 burger on you? I don't know. I'm not confident.
It's going to be the secondary. Your worry is going to be that secondary for the Eagles and how they can defend Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, stop Joe Burrow. That's going to be your biggest thing because, like Kyle said, I mean, the run game is working. Why change it? The run game's working. If you get Saquon going, I mean, that can beat teams. That's how they beat the Packers in Brazil. That's how the Eagles are built to win football games. Yes, they have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and they got playmakers that can do things, but that's a team that's destined to run the football. They just got to find ways to slow down opposing teams. And that's something to watch there in that Bengals game. How do you feel if you're Devin Singletary? That poor guy. Last season, he was with the Houston Texans. He had 898 yards and on 216 carries. This season, he's got 239 yards in 5 games. Like Devin Singletary, like that poor guy, like he should be on a good team. Like maybe, just maybe, the Giants make a trade with the Cowboys. Send Devin Singletary down there. Maybe he could do something with the Cowboys. I don't know. But I feel bad for Malik Neighbors. Like, that is a bad situation to be thrown into if you got to go up there because they got no quarterback. I mean, you look at the Giants, they got no quarterback. Daniel Jones is not a franchise quarterback. Drew Locke is definitely not a franchise quarterback. You don't even have somebody to turn to at this point. Like, That is about as bad as it could possibly get in this one. And then you got, like I said, Devin Singletary goes for 18 yards on the ground, 76 yards on the ground in total for the Giants on the game. And then you got the pass game only getting 105 yards. Like, it is bad times up there for the New York Giants, and it doesn't seem like it's going to change. Don't subject anyone to the circus in Dallas. That's from Kyle there. I'm not trying to send him down there. I'm just saying, like, could it get worse than the Giants? Maybe. Like, the Cowboys could be worse, but
No, I can't.
I don't
No,
know if it could be worse. Like, if I'm Devin Singletary and they say, like, dude, you want to go down to the Cowboys? Like, I'm like, yeah. Like, I'll sign the ticket. Like, I'll pay for my own ticket to get down there. I don't care. Just get me out of this place. Like, 2-5, no quarterback. It's bad news right now.
Yeah, taking all bias, like, as much as I don't like Dallas, I mean, there's probably like maybe 5 teams that you would rather that are worse. Not even. I don't even think there's 5 teams that are worse position than the New York Giants are. Like, the Cardinals, I think, are more competitive. I mean, Carolina's worse. I mean, Carolina's horrible. They should not even exist this season. But like the Giants are. I really thought, after that playoff run, like 2 years ago. I mean, the Eagles, beat the crap out of them, but they beat the Vikings to get to that wild card game. They beat the Vikings. They get to the Eagles. I thought they were like on the up and up at least. I thought Daniel Jones, between his like legs and arm, like they could do enough. But that's when they had Saquon too. And now you take Saquon off that team, and they don't have much. I mean, Neighbors is a nice player, obviously, but it is like it's rough sledding for the there's no way they run this back with Daniel Jones even one more year. There's no way. I just don't think it's possible.
That was a bad contract. As Kyle, he says the Dolphins without Tua are just as bad. I 100% agree. Like we talked about earlier on Integrity Sports Network there on the what the heck, cheap. No, what the heck's it called? Kyle, you're gonna have to tell me what that was called there. I forget what the heck I was even on earlier. It was oh, Kyle, what the heck was the show called? What the heck?
He's typing. I guarantee he's typing.
He's got to be typing for me there. He's got to be typing for me. I don't want to get it wrong. Here. Oh, he is taking forever for me.
Yeah, he slipped. Caught him slipping. That's all right.
Caught him slipping here. But anyway, we were talking about Tua and the Dolphins. Snap Counts podcast on Integrity Sports Network there. Fantastic show we had tonight. If you have a chance, make sure you jump over on Facebook or YouTube. You can check out Integrity Sports Network there. Tons of great shows across there. Aaron and I are both on shows across there, Banter Sports and also Snap Counts there. But we're talking about the Tua situation. It puts Mike McDaniel under a spotlight, I think, because, you look at what Matt LaFleur did without Jordan Love with Malik Willis. He found ways to win football games. He played to his strength there. Tyler Huntley's not a terrible quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. He's not a terrible quarterback. So why do, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, all these guys look like complete garbage? You have A-Chain in the backfield. Why can you not find any way to score a football? Why does it look like atrocious football that a Pee Wee football team could go out there and beat this team right now? Why does it look like that right now? It really puts Mike McDaniel under a spotlight to say, why is that? Why can you not figure out ways to even put points on the board without Tua? Is Tua that good that he was hiding some of Mike McDaniel's flaws? I don't know. Like, it puts that kind of stuff into question there if Tua was a pretty darn good quarterback, and I think Tua is a pretty darn good quarterback when he's healthy. Is Tua that good of a quarterback that he's hiding some of the flaws of Mike McDaniel's? I don't know, but Mike McDaniel's is struggling right now without Tua.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of touched on that before the weekend show. I think Huntley kept the Ravens in a lot of games, and there was even people like, Huntley's not that far down from. I mean, I'm not going to say he's Lamar, right? But like he was competitive within the Ravens organization there. Like when Lamar missed time, and then goes down there to Miami, and it's like, why can't they figure that out, right? And then he exits the game today. I just, like you said, Mike McDaniel, I think Mike McDaniel will, I'm not going to say this year or even maybe next, but I don't think he'll survive that much longer in the fact that they're one of those teams, they teeter on being a competitor, and then they don't really, that's about it. They kind of just go into the playoffs and then go right out, or as much as that's you can't put that all on coaching. Eventually, like that wears off. And like you said, I mean, you have to weather the storm if you have like. I'm not saying every coach can do it, but I mean, you start asking questions. Like you start saying, you're like, is Tua the reason they're as good as they were? And then the coaching doesn't really make it different. Like if he's not making them any better, it's like, okay, then what are we doing here? Like, could Tua be coached by somebody that's even better and elevate Tua's game? You just don't. You start, like I said, you drop the 3-4 with that loss to the Colts today. Or I'm sorry, 2-4. And it's just, they're I don't know. And for Tua, like we still have that conversation all the time on here. It's like, at what point does Tua say, okay, I have too many concussions. Like I'm putting my long-term future in harm's way because I keep going out there and this keeps happening. You hate to see it. He's a competitive guy. I really like the kid. Like I should say guy at this point, but he like that's a real, like, if I'm a fan of the Dolphins, I'm just kind of like, I don't know what to say. Like, I'm just kind of sitting there in like purgatory. Like, okay, if Tua comes back, how long is he going to be in there? Mike McDaniel, we don't know about him. Like, it feels like they're a million steps away from actually being the team that they could be.
Oh, I agree. I agree 100%. So it's going to be interesting to see. Tua's practicing this week, possibly coming back. So we'll see what happens when he does return, or if he returns, what happens there. So definitely some interesting storylines around the NFL. We're going to get into the NFL on Tuesday. We're going to get some NBA talk on Tuesday because the Bucks will be back in action on Wednesday. So we want to get talking about the NBA a little bit. We got some college basketball to talk about because Wisconsin did just have their red-white scrimmage tonight. So I want to get into that on Tuesday. A whole boatload of things that we got to get into on Tuesday there. And I don't want to get into it tonight because we're nearing the end. We're nearing the end here. And hopefully we're talking about, I don't know who we want in the World Series. So, I mean, hopefully we're talking about a World Series matchup that we're hoping the Yankees lose. That's all I know. So with that, I mean, Aaron, anything else you got to wrap us up for the night here?
Just as a little update, it is, in fact, I mean, barring something crazy, it's 7-4 Dodgers, bottom 8. So Mets may have finally, their Cinderella story may be coming to an unfortunate end for, like, I would have loved to kind of see a sub. I know Kyle's like, I'm not a Mets guy. Obviously, I'm not a Mets guy, but seeing a Subway series for the World Series, at least it makes it a little more interesting. Like, at least Kyle can, Yankees get swept. Yeah. I mean, Kyle, if the Mets went out there and dominated the Yankees, I don't think you'd hate a Subway series, right? I mean, this Dodgers Yankee. I mean, you talk about like just the spoiled kid versus the other spoiled kid, like for lack of a better compare, like it's just the rich get richer. I mean, my God, but it's the Dodgers might be coming out of the NL tonight, as that game's fastly coming to an end potentially, and I mean. Trajan, I'll give you your credit. You were smoking me in the picks this weekend. I don't know what. I have too much faith in some of these big programs, and kind of glad to see them lose. But and your Badgers look good, or Packers look good. I mean, at least if the Eagles would have lost, I don't know where I would have went at that point. But good weekend. Good. It was a quick weekend like always, but a lot of stuff coming on, and NHL coming, full swing. Now you got the NBA coming in. You got college basketball coming in. Like, there'll be a lot more going on. So
we agree 100%. Kyle, to wrap it up here, he says only one New York team was allowed and the Yankees ruined it. I would have rather had Guardians versus Mets. We would have rather had Brewers versus Guardians at that point, my friend, or Brewers versus Tigers. But we're going to get over that, right? That's what we got to do. We got to get over it there. So, Aaron, let's wrap it up here. So for Aaron and myself, we thank you guys for watching tonight. If you like the show, if you dislike the show, make sure you're leaving comments. Make sure that you like, subscribe, follow wherever you are across social media. Tell your friends. We'd love to have you on here. Get your comments in. We're trying to set up a call-in line if we can eventually get that. We're working on it. It's in the works. We're going to see what we can do there. But for Aaron and myself, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night and tomorrow. But until we talk to you guys again on Tuesday, deuces.